During the 2010s, Blake Griffin was considered amongst the top players in the league, and one of, if not the top player of his position. Known for his high-flying acrobatics, Griffin was one of the faces of the Lob City Clippers, along with Chris Paul and DeAndre Jordan. The trio helped the team see the best success they've had in decades, racking up 5 straight 50-win seasons along the way. And while the Clippers never made it past the second round, and if we're being honest, never really met the expectations that were set upon them, the growth of Blake Griffin throughout those years was absolutely incredible. He went from a guy who was a liability outside of the paint and just an explosive athlete and dunker, to a guy who could handle the rock, to one of the best passers in his position, and became a much better three-point shooter and free throw shooter. And while Griffin had a falling out with the Clippers and was eventually traded to the Detroit Pistons very early into his contract extension, Griffin continued his dominant play in Motor City, and in the 2018-19 season we saw the best season of his career, where he nearly single-handedly carried the Detroit Pistons to the 8th seed, serving as the team's leading ball handler while averaging 24.5 points, 7.5 rebounds, and 5.5 assists per game, while hitting a career-high 2.5 threes per game. However, the days of the elite Blake Griffin seem like a distant memory of the past, which is crazy because it's only been 2 years since that season. Unfortunately, as is with a good amount of his career, Griffin has been dealing with injuries since then. In the 2019-20 season, looking to build upon his career year, Griffin only managed to play 18 out of 82 games that season, dealing with hamstring injuries, and eventually underwent season-ending knee surgery in January of 2020. Entering this season, many were curious to see how Griffin would look after his surgery, wondering if he could find that groove that he once had, but unfortunately, that wasn't the case. In fact, Griffin seemed like a shell of his former self, extremely passive and willing to defer to younger guys on the team, such as Jeremy Grant, who's having a career year. In fact, any trace of explosiveness that Griffin once had seems to be gone. He's basically reverted himself to a pick-and-pop type of player and a catch-and-shoot three-pointer. More than half of his shots this season are taken from the three-point line, something that no one could have seen coming given his old playstyle. In fact, he's been absolutely terrible this season despite the occasional outbursts we've seen. He's averaging just 12.3 points per game, 5.2 rebounds, 3.9 assists, and he's shooting horribly from the field, shooting 36.5% and 31.5% from the three-point line. Along with this, he's providing nearly nothing on the defensive end, something that he was nothing more than average at during his prime. He's also again had to deal with injury management as well as a concussion scare this season. It's crazy to think that Blake Griffin, who was once known for his thunderous dunks, hasn't dunked in a game since 2019. It's recently been announced that Griffin and the Pistons have come to a mutual agreement for him to sit out as the team explores a buyout or trade options for the former star, and honestly I couldn't be more happy for Griffin. He finally has a chance to leave the rebuilding Pistons, who clearly have found a younger star in Jeremy Grant, and can finally go play for a team competing for the elusive championship that he's been searching for throughout his career. And unfortunately, given Griffin's hefty contract where he would most likely accept his whopping nearly $39 million player option for next season, it'll be tough looking for a trade candidate who could offer something equal for both sides, so a buyout seems more than likely. And should a buyout happen, there are a number of teams that could use his services despite his declining athleticism and non-impactful defensive presence. The Boston Celtics are one of, if not the team that will benefit the most from Griffin joining the team. At just 13-13 at the time of this recording, the Celtics have been disappointing after a great run in the bubble. The team has been severely lacking in the power forward position, opting to start two centers in Daniel Tice and Tristan Thompson, both who are very limited in terms of floor spacing and playmaking. By adding Griffin to the roster, they would be adding another much-needed dimension to their offense and would alleviate playmaking duties from both Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown, who should be focusing more on their scoring. His defensive shortcomings can be hidden by the defensive versatility of Boston's roster, and while playing alongside the likes of Thompson and Tice. On this team, Griffin would be playing on a young and exciting team that can compete for championships for years to come in the Eastern Conference. However, another option for Blake Griffin, which is quite ironic given how he dominated them during the mid-2010s, is the Los Angeles Lakers. The Lakers would be quite interested in Griffin's services, considering they just lost Anthony Davis for at least 3 weeks with an Achilles injury. The Lakers would benefit from his passing, and he could potentially lead the second unit off the bench, or be another guy for LeBron to hit, either cutting to the basket or out in the three-point line. And if Griffin really wants a ring, this, in my opinion, is his best shot at getting it. However, it's unfortunate to see Griffin's career go down this way. We knew that his declining athleticism would be a problem later on in his career, but he's just 31 years old. I didn't think that it'd be this early on, but it seems to be the case. It'll be very interesting to see what Griffin gets out in the open market, or if he even has any trade value left, because considering his injury history and his lack of defensive presence, his value is at an all-time low if we're being honest, which is very sad to see. But with all that being said, let me know in the comments below where you think Griffin is headed, where you think he's going to be traded to, if you think he's going to be bought out. Let me know in the comments below. Don't forget to like the video if you liked it, subscribe, and turn on post notifications so you know when I upload next. Thank you very much for watching the video, and as always, have a good one.